Now, let's talk about typical contract clauses. When reading a contract, some of the most confusing terms are covenants, conditions, representations, and warranties. But they don't have to be intimidating. Let's break them down. Representations and warranties are about facts. A representation is a statement that's true right now. A warranty is similar, but it also includes a guarantee, so you can sue if it's false. For example, in a car sale, if the seller says the car has not been in an accident, that's a representation. If the seller adds, and I warrant that's true, now you have a legal backing. Covenants, on the other hand, are about promises. These are commitments a party agrees to do or not to do during a contract. So, if a landlord says, I will keep the roof in good repair, that's a covenant. Lastly, conditions are like checkpoints. Something must happen before the contract fully kicks in. If a condition isn't met, the deal might fall apart. For example, a job offer might be conditional on a background check. Remember, reps and warranties means this is true. Covenants means I'll do this. Conditions means only if this happens. Understanding these clauses helps you protect yourself and spot when something doesn't necessarily smell right in a deal. So now you're probably wondering, when might a lawyer be necessary? Contracts are everywhere, but sometimes it's hard to know when to bring in a lawyer. Let's break it down. First up, independent versus professional review. For some low-risk contracts, like a standard vendor agreement, you might be okay reviewing these yourself. They're usually simple and relatively straightforward. But for high-risk contracts, it might be a good idea to get a lawyer involved. So what are high-risk versus low-risk agreements? Some contracts are riskier than others. High-risk agreements like employment contracts, intellectual property licenses, or partnership agreements usually need legal review. These involve bigger stakes and could affect your business or personal life more. So, what are some signs you need legal counsel? Here are some signs you definitely need a lawyer. First, if the language is too complex and hard to understand. Second, if the risk is unclear, like who's responsible if something goes wrong. And third, if there's a lot of money or important assets on the line, a lawyer is a must. So, if the contract is simple and low risk, you might be fine on your own. But for anything complex, unclear, or high stakes, getting legal advice is the safest choice. Now let's talk about negotiating and modifying a contract. Negotiating a contract is all about understanding leverage, who has the upper hand, and how to use it effectively. Let's dive into some strategies. In any negotiation, it's important to know your options. One way to do this is called BATNA, Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. This basically means knowing what you'll do if the deal falls through. You can also ask for reciprocal concessions. If you give a little, ask for something in return. And understanding the other party's pain points, what they're trying to avoid, can definitely give you an advantage. Redlining is when you mark up a contract to show what terms you want to change or reject. It helps you clearly point out what doesn't work. A counteroffer is when you propose changes to a contract. It's a way to negotiate better conditions that suit you. Sometimes parties agree to change parts of a contract after it's signed. That's called a contract amendment. And if you add new terms to the agreement after it's been signed, that's called a contract addendum. It's like adding a new section to an existing contract. Negotiating and modifying contracts helps ensure the agreement works for everyone. Using these strategies helps make sure your contract terms are clear and fair. So, To sum it all up, contracts are essential tools that make sure both parties in any agreement are clear on what they're agreeing to, and they offer a way to resolve disputes if things go wrong. So, next time you sign a contract, remember, it's more than just a formality. It's a protection for both you and the other party. Thanks for watching, and always make sure to read and understand what you're signing. Until next time.